The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250.
Welcome to the Kachmann Mind, Body, Spirit Show. Today, we'll be speaking about something very interesting. It's from the beginning, and the name of the show is CARD, C-A-R-D, Vitali, V-I-T-L-I. What really I have in mind is to promote the day that any individual in the world is born, especially in the United States, that we give them, in essence, like a credit card, and embrace on there all the health information for a lifetime, and let's start on the road. So Card Vitali is magic at your door. It will have your health information, and you can do something about it. Put it into a credit card thing at any doctor's office, and they know your health information for your lifetime. Okay, so you're going to live to be 100 if we establish this system, not just in one state, but not just in our town, but throughout the world. That's really what I got in mind. So let's get on the road. Very early in life, we should get a serum insulin starting at age 3 in the blood. Check the insulin level. Number 2, run the liver test. It's the best yearly. We don't run liver tests today. We don't pay any attention to it. But your liver is your biggest and most important organ, and it can regenerate if there's damage to it. That's how important it is. And we can test for the liver very early enzymes that are produced only by the liver, called ALT, AST, and GGT. They are produced by the liver. And we test for them yearly, we can see if they are becoming abnormal. And the miracle news is that if you develop a liver disease, you can reverse it completely, all the way down to if only 25% is working, okay, down to 25%. If you start eating and drinking the right way, it can totally return to 100% normal. Yes, only organ in the body that does that. We'll speak more about that. You can record your GFR, glomerular filtration rate, yearly. GFR. I hardly speak to anyone who knows what it is, but I will teach you here today. The science of that is extremely important because as we get a day on, it's constantly dropping, and you can still do something about it for a while. But if you don't, you will die. So you need to know your GFR rate. And then lastly, you need to check your blood sugar or glucose tolerance test. If you didn't check the serum insulin when you were a child, and you can make a diagnosis and still get rid of it very quickly. And I'll show you how. And then you don't have to use any medication, and you'll be disease-free in 2 to 3 weeks. I know how to do that, okay? So insulin blood levels are elevated. This is the interesting thing, and this I want you to understand, and most people do not know this. Insulin blood levels are elevated 10 to 15 years before the blood sugars go up and diabetes is diagnosed. Yes, read Jason Fong's book. It has the scientific information in there. Yes, we should be screening all children at a very young age for serum insulins. Their blood sugars are normal, but that doesn't mean they're not diabetic. The insulin level could be up. And when the insulin level is up, you're getting disease inside your body, and so that's the reason I'm stressing that being so important. So insulin blood levels are elevated 10 to 15 years before blood sugars go up, and diabetes is diagnosed, but diseases are already occurring in the body before that. The insulin does that, so you can't just go on your blood sugar, okay? I repeat, 30 to 50% of diabetic diseases are already occurring in the body with normal blood sugar and glucose tolerance tests, okay? Wake up the world. It's a pandemic. We need to test for serum insulins in children starting at age 2 or 3. Should everyone be tested? Absolutely not. Only those concerned about their future. Pretty important here. A good book to read, hard to find. I have a hard time buying it on Amazon, but I still have a copy, okay? Joseph Kraft's book, Kraft, MD. He was from University, he was from Chicago, yes, as far back as 1970, 1980. And normal fasting blood sugar of normal weight do not exclude you from being a diabetic. We need to know your serum insulin. Many of the undiagnosed millions get an insulin test, please, please. Diabetes is a worldwide pandemic. It's all over the world, okay? I'd say my town is 80% diabetic and 50% don't know it. It's a musical town, but it hasn't been tested properly for diabetes. It's going to be a sick town. And it's hard to dance when you're sick or play an instrument. Okay? China has now the largest number of diabetics. But the ambassador who contacted me not too long ago from India told me personally it was India, and it changed in the last year. There's so many diabetics. In India, they can't afford to take care of them. So the ambassador contacted me, which he didn't have to, whether he could use my 1,000 videos on YouTube. Of course you could. You didn't have to ask me, but he came to my house. Yes. Indiana and many other nations now use my YouTube shows. You say YouTube and then spell it. Don't say it because it misleads you. Kachmann. I have about 1,000 videos on health and diabetes. Use them. Take advantage of them. And if you want to listen to my podcast show, the name of that is Look Good, Disease Free. 9 episodes. I'm going to post a new one about every 2 weeks. So we have available to YouTube shows. In essence, 1,000. And so Dr. Joseph Kraft from Chicago, remember, and he was a pathologist, extremely educated. And you can see him also on YouTube. Hard to get his book, but I do have a copy. And Dr. Joseph Kraft says, until the earliest diagnosis of diabetes, which is the insulin assay with normal blood sugar. Remember I said before the blood sugar is elevated, get a serum insulin test. Tell me you're not diabetic. It's just the blood sugar is not going to tell it. I want to know your insulin test results. And diabetes is the most needed, will be incomplete with CTs and MRIs. That's way along the path. Autopsies have been replaced, so we're not really looking at the bottom line like Dr. Kraft did in Chicago. Incidentally, when they autopsied the Vietnamese, the Korean, and the American soldiers after they'd been shot and died, they found the Americans were full of disease. Yes. And that's because their insulin level had already been elevated. The Vietnamese and the Koreans were eating a better diet. So I would say Fort Wayne, Indiana, my present hometown, and I'm dedicated to turning it into a healthy city. It's already a musical city. Chuck Sirac and Sweetwater turned it into clearly a musical city, but it's not a healthy city, okay? We are a musical city because of Sweetwater and Chuck Sirac. Incidentally, I take singing lessons. Yes, at the Arts Center. Yeah, and so I went to a South American restaurant recently where every worker, let's listen to this, I went to a South American restaurant recently where around 150 employees that walked around me from South America. I would say 98% were diabetic. Yes. And I didn't even need the serum insulin test because they look so unhealthy, although 80% of overweight are diabetic, not 100%, okay? But if you saw this place, you would say they were all diabetic. And this, they came from South America, and more of them will come to town. So this would be a musical, very unhealthy city. But I'm willing to do something about it. The information is out there. I'd pay $1,000 if that restaurant owner would have everyone be tested for insulin and the blood sugar. And also maybe check the fat status, the fatty liver status. I'm willing to help for free. Knowledge is everything. I cannot always estimate the importance of your kidneys if you want to live to be 100. We're going to be talking about the kidneys here a little bit. And I'm going to tell you the science of it. If you want to feel good and look good, you got to have good kidneys. You need good kidney function. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, there's a lot of reserve in your kidney function. First of all, you have two kidneys. They can take one out, or you may have been born with one. You may donate one and still do fine. The kidneys are located front of your back muscles, back of the peritoneal organs in your belly. They are shaped like a bean, about 5 inches long. The blood comes from the aorta, the big vessel going through there, and they are locked on either sides of the spinal, located either side of the spinal column. The kidney is connected to the ureter and then to the bladder. And the bladder is a temporary holding tank. And then you go to the bathroom. So you have the kidneys, the ureter, the bladder, the urethra, make up the urinary tract. I just wanted you to learn something about it. The kidney cleans, purifies the blood, removing a lot of toxic waste, but return most of the fluid to the body. Most of the fluid in your body is reabsorbed. It's not excreted, okay? So waste products are filtered out by glomeruli. They're in the kidneys 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Your kidneys are working. The kidneys know what your electrolyte balance is. They can tell the acid-base balance, and the kidneys maintain your core acid-base balance, so you realize how important that they are. And also calculates the pH that secretes bicarbonates that can balance the system. So they're doing work in your body all day and all night long. They help regulate the blood pressure, and the kidneys help get rid of needed or the balance, the electrolytes. Above the kidneys are our adrenal glands, okay, which produce hormones that increase blood pressure. They make product called renin and angiotensin, and they increase our blood pressure in case it happens to fall. The kidneys also are regulators of blood and bone healing to keep the blood healthy. Produce a hormone called erythropoietin, which is a blood stimulator. Okay, it helps keep the blood count normal, and all activates vitamin D, which comes from the sun and also from the diet, and it helps to regulate it. So each kidney is made out of about 1 million nephrons, okay, little tubules, which begin with the filter rinsing the blood, a tuft of capillaries, tiny blood vessels called the glomeruli. Liquid is derived from the blood plasma, comprising a solution from which most of the protein has been filtered. And that saves the protein in your body, doesn't get rid of all the protein. The final urine is small in volume compared to the original filter in the kidney, and differs from volume and differs from it in composition. It is important to recognize that the kidney's main function is not to excrete waste. They play a very important role in keeping the extracellular fluid constant in the makeup. Intracellular fluid is the medium in which millions of cells that make up our body are bathed, you can see how important it is for the heart and kidneys to keep constant the composition of the extracellular fluid. Mm-hmm. The excretion of water, salt, potassium, calcium, acid, and other elements. Clearly, the kidney has many functions besides the excretion of waste. Stages of kidney disease. Every one of us should have at least yearly blood and urine tests to fully evaluate the condition of our kidneys. The main reason being is that in the first 3 stages of kidney disease, and now I'm going to be speaking about the most important parts, we don't have any symptoms. In other words, we can start having kidney disease and don't even know it unless you get blood tested. That's what I'm leading to. And finally, do obtain the results of our blood and renal test and find where in an advanced stage, like stage 3 or 4, and I'll be speaking of the stages shortly, then the problem becomes very difficult. In other words, if you don't get tested yearly, if you have very advanced kidney disease, you may need dialysis, and you may be 2 or 3 years away from death. Okay, so the clock, and you can't turn the level of kidney disease back. You must act while the kidney is still working well. There are 5 stages to renal disease, and this is very important, and I want you to listen to this. Kidneys use the GFR, glomerular filtration rate. That's what I want you to know. If you don't know what GFR is, please go to your doctor, get a test so that you know what stage you might be at. Because you're at stage 4 or 5, you may not be able to turn the clock around. So it is actually based on 4 different factors. The GFR generally is 100 to 150 when we're a teenager, okay? And it goes down slowly as we get a day older. For example, at my age 86, at the time I wrote this, was a healthy 80. A GFR of greater than 90 would be considered healthy and is considered stage 1. Okay, stage 2 would be a decreased 60 to 89 GFR. Okay, it's called a mild decrease. Okay, kidneys are still working, but this slowly go down over time. Stage 3 would be considered a moderate decrease, but you can still act on it. Patients may have very few symptoms in these stages. That's the point. As you're losing function, you may have very few symptoms, and you don't know a problem is occurring. Generally, patients may have very few symptoms in that stage, but then it keeps on going down, and you may lose an opportunity to change the course. We still have an opportunity at stage 3. At stage 4, we have a GFR of 15 to 29, and things are getting worse, and you should stay out of that range. So you need to know what your GFR is. Heart disease and renal disease run together here, and they are difficult to reverse. At least know your GFR, and another test that has some value is CRP. It's a blood test, and it may be abnormal. The risk of cerebrovascular disease is high goes higher as the GFR decreases. Interesting. So the risks of cancer are higher if you have kidney disease, about 10 to 80%. You know, if you have a kidney transplant, the cancer risk goes 300 to 400%. The risk of Parkinson's disease goes up 50%. So you want to act on your kidneys. Remember, it's easy to ignore because you may not have any symptoms. But you have more control than you imagine over your kidney disease. But you must get to work. You must know it must be part of your yearly testing. What's your GFR? If you don't know it, go find out. Kidneys don't regrow like the liver. I'll get to the liver pretty soon here. The liver function can go down to 25%. It can still regenerate and return to normal. Mm-hmm. But the kidneys can't do the same. Although a little bit of work is coming out of England. Dr. David Unwood, look it up on YouTube. And he's starting to show that kidney disease can be reversed a little bit. So it's not hopeless. Dr. David Unwood. So kidneys don't regrow. Remember what I mentioned about the liver? Function can decrease 25% and then still regrow. Additional tests for the kidneys can be a serum creatine, and you can get to work as well. Creatine, if the kidneys aren't working right, the creatine level changes, as well as a BUN. All patients at stage 5 generally are in the renal transplant list, but the list is long, difficult to get on, costly. Most kidney function tests have been lost, but some can function at a very low GFR number. You can have severe kidney problems and have only one kidney, only 5% is working, but in some people it still could be functioning a bit. So now we're going to switch to another subject, a more hopeful subject. Look good, disease-free. Oh, that's my podcast, okay. Liver function disease. The liver is the largest, most important gland in the body. Mm-hmm. You don't have a liver, you're not working. Liver is in charge of processing, converting, distributing, maintaining the body's vital fuel supply, nutrients, enzymes, energy. The liver manufactures cholesterol, Seneca of cholesterol, which is essential building material of all cells. Every cell, your cholesterol is so bad, we got to take a statin drug. That's wrong. Cholesterol is in every cell membrane. Yes, it's important. And it's in the membranes of hormones, bile. The liver also produces hormones, proteins, not all proteins, but some of the proteins. So it affects a tremendous number of body functions. Other functions of the liver include breaking down old worn-out cells, recycling proteins and iron. Gallstones are tantamount to being a hazardous threat to all these functions. And these vital tasks, the liver breaks down alcohol in the blood. Yes, the liver detoxifies noxious substances, bacteria, parasites, pharmaceutical. Every drug that you take gets broken down in the liver. So the more drugs you take, the more effect you will have on the liver. The liver converts toxins into substances that can safely be removed from the body. A lot of toxins in the world, but the liver ends up with the work. The liver filters more than a quart. Listen to this one. The liver filters more than a quart of blood each minute. Each minute. Wow, how important is that? The filtered waste products leave the liver via the bile system. Goes out into the urine and the gut, and away it goes. Gallstones obstructing the bile duct lead to high levels of toxicity in the liver. It results in liver disease. Alcohol not properly detoxed in the liver can destroy the cells. The liver is 90% water. Let's kind of visualize the liver. Remember, it goes across the body. It's like a triangle. And while liver disease is occurring, there are very few warning signs, very few red flags waving, hey, you're having a liver problem. But remember, I mentioned should have yearly ALT, AST, GGT. The protein albumin, which is also affected by kidney, but it's a pretty good clue that something is going on. But there are some warning signs, and you need to know them. A blood test, remember I mentioned the ALT, AST, GGT, made only by the liver. So yearly testing for them is important. Starting at a very young age. We normally don't even hardly test for it. Oh, what's your blood sugar? Well, we need to know your liver enzymes. And so non-alcoholic liver disease is due to a buildup of fat within the liver cells. Okay? At an early age, the liver is unable to break down toxic substances, causing gallstones to form after the first vaccine shot. So something to look for is the first vaccine shot is the child having a liver problem. An inadequate diet, including sugar, fast food, junk food, greatly affects the liver of children. What are you allowing the kids to eat? Have they had their yearly kidney test, GFR, liver test? If the mother drinks alcohol, smokes, eats junk food, takes medications during pregnancy, this will have negative effects on the child's liver and health in general. While the child is growing in the uterus, I repeat, while the mother, her habits, her conditioning, whether she's a happy person, a sad person, what food she's eating, what food she's drinking, will affect the health of the newborn child. NAFLD fatty can turn into NASH. Okay, that's fat in the liver. Okay, but it can get worse and get changed into NASH. And when it is NASH, it is very difficult to turn things around. That liver disease may turn into cancer. And NASH is inflammatory fat in the liver, and it's rarely reversible. Okay? 30% of us now has non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. 30%, including 6 million children. NAFLD has doubled among children. Fatty liver has doubled among children. So the obesity rates in the U.S. and worldwide have increased greatly. But how do you study the liver? Remember, I mentioned those tests: ALT, AST, GGT. Serum albumin has some level. We get a blood test. And some people do it live, get it with a needle, take a biopsy of the liver, but that has some risk. It has a complication risk that now has come out. Something that's safer, and it's called a fibro scan. FibroScan. And I'm going to tell you all about it. And suspected people with fatty liver and AFLD, and the tests, the ALT, AST, GGT are elevated. Now we're concerned. Do we get a biopsy? How do we prove it? The purpose of the FibroScan is to assess for some fat in the liver and see if there's some fibrosis, some scarring in the liver. And the FibroScan is a very reliable, validated test, especially for fibrosis, liver disease with fibrosis. Fibrosis scan, you don't take a biopsy. It's an instrument, can give you information that could only be given previously by biopsy. You don't have to stick a needle in it or take a piece of it. And now, the cost and the risk is less, okay? So FibroScan is the preferred initial test for reading to see if you have cirrhosis or not, which is very difficult to deal with. I mentioned to you when I'm speaking to you about this also, to tell you about some online tests available. There's an online nutrition thing called Noon, N-O-O-N. Write this down because it's important. It's an online nutrition group. It teaches psychology of eating, okay, along with the basics of nutrition and weight loss. Okay, that looks like something you'd like to know about, so I write it down. Things I taught you about the FibroScan and the Noon, N-O-O-N. Another opinion, maybe you like to use them. You know, leave it up to you. Yeah. Liver disease, diabetes has skyrocketed in recent decades. That explains the path from NAFLD, fat in the liver, to NASH. Remember, NASH a lot of times is not reversible. Liver is a complex organ. It plays a critical role in metabolism of fats, proteins, carbohydrates. We know that already. Although a healthy liver can handle dietary fat without a problem, but the same is not of a distressed liver. So you'd like to know, what's my liver state? Okay, may know your diabetic state, you may know your serum insulin state, but we need to know the state of our liver. The difficulty is that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and the advanced form NASH is generally asymptomatic. Yeah. Occasionally, they have some symptoms, fatigue or malaise, and is a leading cause of chronic liver disease. So we need to know that. The liver conditions, some that can't be reversed. Liver cancer, cirrhosis, acute liver failure, some genetic liver disorders. Mm-hmm. So the main burden, if you need a transplant, extremely difficult. It's costly. You're on a list, and that's the reason we're trying to get you to be aware that you might have a liver problem by getting those enzyme tests and maybe a fibro scan. And if you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, that you try, to do something about it. We're going down until the damage becomes extreme, and then it becomes impossible to ignore, and it may be too late. But the beautiful news, the liver is the only organ that can be rebuilt if caught early enough. And by early enough, we mean that it's been damaged 25, above 25, and not below. Once it is damaged more than 25%, it cannot be reversed. But once if it's still above 25%, this is the beautiful news, that the body will rebuild it to 100%, and it will look like a normal liver. So it's the only organ in the body that can regenerate itself if caught early enough. Wow. If 25% healthy and unscarred, Rudy's good news, it can regenerate itself to its original size, the only organ. So you must get the yearly liver test, as Rudy spoke about, to get the insulin test, the GFR, and the serum insulin test. Suppose you never had the insulin test for the diabetes. So the late diagnosis of diabetes, you did not get the serum insulin, but now let's get to work and go on a path of simply perhaps keto. Susan Ryan's keto book, Rudy Kachmann, 16:8, diabetes free in 2 or 3 weeks. Yes, it's that quick, but you must act. You must act on it. And as I mentioned to you already in the beginning, the importance of a health card. And I even included it in a book that I wrote a number of years ago, and it's still on Amazon, but I'm back pushing it again, and I'd like to hold it up for you to see. AmeriCare, Our Moral Responsibility. And you see this? And I'm going to read to you a little bit from that. And I spoke to you about the card Vitali. I think it could be done. I think it could be done. We just need to get our politicians step up to bat. I went recently to the Nutrition Council, Allen County, that they were willing to speak to me. I think is great. But the gentleman in charge, who was a very nice individual, said, although they were feeding the kids in the schools a very poor diet, there's a bottle of milk with every meal. Well, that sounds great. You said, that's wonderful. Well, let me tell you something. Look up the science of milk sometime. Read a book by Joe Kachmann, Whitewash. Read that book. And once you finish reading that book on milk, you'll probably be an advocate like milk. It's not, myself, that milk is not a healthy thing. Tremendous number of allergies associated with milk, yes. That's the biggest problem. I remember doing yoga activity with this lady, and she kept on telling me about all her kids had constant ear infections all the time, lung problems, ear infections, consistently going to the doctor all the time. And I had read this book already many years ago. And I gave her a copy. And she read it. And she took the milk away from the kids, and guess what? All those infections stopped within 3 weeks. So, Whitewash, Joe Kachmann, read it yourself. Don't just accept my opinion. Read it. But that's not the only problem with milk. Some children, could be adult, can react to the proteins in milk and have an allergic reaction, an anaphylactic reaction, and die on the spot. Yes, that is occurring. Yet we have it. I looked at New York City, same thing, milk with every meal, free. That's nice that it's free, but you're allowing children to have a tremendous number of allergic reactions, okay? And some have anaphylactic reaction and die on the spot. Look, read many other books. I've read many other books, but Kachmann's book is a big book. I even read it in New York City, where the mayor had diabetes, and when he was in charge of Brooklyn, terrible condition, and he started taking interest in nutrition, and he was partially right. And then he wrote a book about it, and I read it. He's partially right. But now he's giving free milk to every child in the city, and there are going to be some people dying from it. Look up the science. Don't believe me? Get another opinion. But let's talk a little about card Vitali. we're using it in Europe, but I don't think it's good enough. I want to advance it and hand a credit card to every child that is born and keep the health record on there for a lifetime. Every household you go to, different states that you go to. And I noticed on reading more about the health card in China, I'll read to you a little bit in this book I wrote. For the past 15 years, France has been using what's called a card Vitali. In essence, is a credit card with the gold chip that gives you complete medical history. And so you could walk into any doctor's office, and once he or she downloaded it, they'd instantly know your medical past. The trouble is, I looked online, that actually is for people starting at age 16, and the rest of Europe never really adopted it. In my city of Fort Wayne, we don't even connect our information, and our medical school data between hospitals is isolated from the whole country. A card system like the one in France could be done while still protecting the health histories. But I don't think it's totally accurate. What I would like to do is that we have a card Vitali the day you're born, and all your health information is recorded on that. I am concerned, for example, like in our area, our public health system, to me at least, is not working. Could you name who is in charge of public health? Allen County? No, you couldn't. A few could, but I barely can, because he's not out there telling us what a healthy lifestyle is. And like I mentioned, at the moment in my life, age 89, no illness, take only one pill. And what's that, Rudy? Vitamin M. What's vitamin M? I even said it to the Arts Center in Fort Wayne recently, where I had 5 music people, the teachers in front of me. I was over there paying the back bill. And I said it to all of them. And all 5 did not know what vitamin M was. Music! I got all 5 of them. All 5 did not get that vitamin M is music. And so I think we should have in healthcare here, for all the people, a complete system. Where I think it's a moral responsibility, and a health card, which we spoke about, would be a good start. Other things I'd like to mention to you is, which is very important, and listen to this. I wrote a small book, it's on Amazon. Placebo, I hand you a pill, and as long as you believe in it, no matter the majority of symptoms you got would go away because you believed it, okay? But what is the opposite of the placebo, the evil twin? I speak extremely rarely. I have barely any memory of anyone who knows what the word nocebo means. Placebo and its evil twin, nocebo. Yeah. And let me read to you a little about that. Placebo and its evil twin, nocebo. If you give a red pill and you believe it might help, there's a 70% chance that it will. Yeah, that it will. Our brain produces hormones, neurotransmitters, and neuropeptides, all of which essentially messengers that bind with receptors all over the body. Mm-hmm. Dr. Candace Pert discovered the receptors in 1972, and she should have received that year's Nobel Prize of Medicine. She essentially proved the mind-body connection. And then Pert went on to discover the immune system produces chemicals, hormones, neurotransmitters, neuropeptides, like the body's own Army, Navy, and Air Force. So the relationship goes both ways. The mind influences the body, and the body influences the mind. So I hope today that I've convinced you to get a card Vitali, and even if your government doesn't do it, that you individually put all your health information in one area of your computer. And you go to the doctor's office and you can show them this information. And I hope I've made you a little bit healthier today. And I do this because I love you. When you reach to be 100, I want you to play pick-a-ball and dance with me. Bye-bye.